The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was bigger than any building on Earth. Its walls stretched up so high that the top disappeared in shadows. Thousands of alien beings filled the seats, their strange voices creating a low buzz that never stopped. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho walked slowly toward the center platform. His black suit looked very small against the massive space around him. He was the only human in a room full of creatures that came from worlds he could barely imagine. Some had scales that shined like metal. Others looked like walking crystals that caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. Many had too many eyes or arms or legs. Kim kept his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. Today would change everything for humanity. He could feel it. At the front of the hall sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Chancellor Ixthan of the Vorthak Empire was the largest. His lizard-like body was covered in dark green scales, and his yellow eyes never blinked. Next to him floated Resonance Prime, the leader of the Nexari collective. The crystal being's body made soft musical sounds when it moved. Human Representative Kim Tae-ho, Chancellor Ixthan's voice boomed across the hall. "You will listen to our decision." Kim nodded once but said nothing. He had learned that staying quiet often made aliens more uncomfortable than any words could. The Chancellor stood up. His massive form cast a shadow over Kim. "For 3 years we have watched your species spread through space. We have seen your ships, your colonies, your military bases. We have studied your history, your wars, your violence." Other alien delegates began making sounds of agreement. Some clicked their tongues or mandibles. Others flashed lights or changed colors. "You humans are dangerous," the Chancellor continued. "You are unpredictable. You make decisions based on emotions instead of logic. You fight wars over ideas instead of resources. You refuse to follow the natural order that has kept peace in this galaxy for 1,000 years. Kim's jaw tightened slightly, but he remained silent. Resonance Prime began to speak, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "The collective has analyzed human behavioral patterns across 17 different scenarios. The results show a 94.7% probability of future galactic instability if human expansion continues unchecked. Therefore," Chancellor Ixthan announced, "the Galactic Council has voted. New restrictions will be placed on humanity, effective immediately." The hall grew quiet. Every alien eye, sensor, or other sensing organ focused on Kim. "First, no human settlements may be established beyond your current sphere of influence. You will expand no further than 50 light-years from your home system." Kim felt his stomach drop, but he kept his expression neutral. "Second, all human vessels traveling in galactic space must carry council observers. These observers will monitor your activities and report any suspicious behavior." Murmurs of approval rippled through the alien audience. "Third, humanity is forbidden from developing new military technologies. All current weapons must be registered with the Council. Any unauthorized research will result in immediate sanctions." Kim's hands slowly formed fists at his sides, but he did not speak. "Fourth and finally, humans are prohibited from making contact with any species not already part of the Galactic Council. You will not interfere with primitive civilizations or influence their development in any way." Chancellor Ixthan leaned forward, his massive head now only a few feet from Kim. "These restrictions are not punishment, human. They are protection. Protection for the galaxy from your species' chaotic nature. Protection for your species from the consequences of your own actions." The Chancellor straightened up and spread his arms wide. "We offer you peace, stability, and a place in the galactic community. All we ask in return is that you accept these reasonable limitations on your expansion and behavior." For a long moment, Kim stood perfectly still. The silence in the Great Hall was complete. Even the soft humming and clicking sounds had stopped. Thousands of alien beings waited for the human response. Kim reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small metal object. It was nothing special to look at, just a simple bottle opener that he had brought from Earth, the kind that humans used to open their beer bottles. He held it up so everyone could see it, then walked to the speaking platform. The device made a small clicking sound when he set it down on the metal surface. "You want to see unpredictable?" Kim said quietly. His voice carried clearly through the hall's sound system. "You want to know what happens when you try to put humans in a cage?" He stepped back from the platform, his eyes never leaving Chancellor Ixthan's face. "Hold my beer." The words were simple. They were said in a calm, almost friendly tone. But something about them made every alien in the hall suddenly feel very uncomfortable. The phrase meant nothing to them, but the way Kim said it sent a chill through the assembly. Kim turned around and began walking toward the exit. He did not hurry. He did not look back. His footsteps echoed in the silent hall as thousands of alien eyes watched him go. Chancellor Ixthan stared at the small metal object left on the platform. "What does it mean?" he asked Resonance Prime. "Unknown," the crystal being replied. "The phrase appears in human cultural databases, but its significance in this context is unclear. Analysis suggests it may be some form of warning or challenge." "A challenge?" The Chancellor's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "One human against the entire Galactic Council? Let him try. We will be ready for whatever these emotional creatures might attempt." But even as he spoke, Chancellor Ixthan could not shake the feeling that something important had just happened, something that might change everything. In the days that followed, human ships across the galaxy began receiving a simple message: restrictions in place. Compliance required. Repeat, compliance required. But there was another message being sent as well, hidden in communication channels that the aliens did not know existed. The beer has been set down. You know what comes next. Across human space, from the colonies around Alpha Centauri to the research stations in the Outer Rim, people began to smile. They remembered stories from their history. Stories about what happened when someone told humanity what they could not do. The aliens thought they knew humans. They thought emotions made them weak. They thought unpredictability made them dangerous. They were about to learn that being unpredictable could also make humans very, very clever. Captain Lee Dongwu received the message aboard his ship, the Indomitable, while patrolling near the edge of human space. He looked at the bottle opener sitting on his desk, one just like the one Kim had left behind, and began to laugh. "Sir?" asked his first officer, Lieutenant Park So-young. "Nothing," Captain Lee said, still smiling. "Just thinking about beer." 3 months had passed since the restrictions began. To anyone watching, humanity seemed to have accepted their new limits quietly. Human ships moved slowly through space, always with their alien observers on board. Human colonies sent regular reports to the Council. Human military bases powered down their weapons and opened their doors for inspection. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Ji-hai stood in the cargo hold of the transport ship Morning Star, watching as Vorthak observer Krextal examined boxes of medical supplies. The lizard alien was very thorough, opening every container and scanning each item with his detection device. "These pain medications are acceptable," Krextal said in his rough voice. "The medical equipment meets Council standards. You may proceed to the colony on Kepler 438b. "Thank you, Observer," Jihi replied politely. She had learned to sound respectful and a little tired, as if the restrictions had worn down her spirit. "Is there anything else you need to check?" "No. Your species has been surprisingly compliant. Perhaps you are learning wisdom." The Vorthak turned and walked toward his monitoring station near the bridge. Jihai waited until his heavy footsteps faded away. Then she pressed a small button hidden behind her belt buckle. Across the cargo hold, Engineer Choi Minho emerged from behind a stack of supply crates. He had been there the whole time, invisible to the alien sensors. "How long until we reach the drop point?" Minho whispered. 2 hours, Jihi replied softly. "Are the packages ready?" Minho nodded and pointed to what looked like normal medical supply boxes. "The real medical supplies are on top. Underneath are the communication arrays, power cells, and construction equipment. Our stealth coating will keep them hidden from Council sensors once they're deployed." This was happening all across human space. Every supply run to human colonies carried hidden materials. Every routine patrol by human military ships was actually a reconnaissance mission to map alien defenses and find suitable locations for secret bases. The aliens saw compliance, but they were watching the wrong things. On the asteroid mining station Series 7, Dr. Park Soo-jin reviewed reports from dozens of similar operations. Her official job was researching better ways to extract metals from asteroids. Her real job was much more. "Interesting status report," she said to the team of engineers gathered around the conference. "Table, asteroid field Sigma 19, is now fully operational," reported Chief Engineer Nam Ho-seok. "We've carved out living spaces for 3,000 people inside the largest rock. The aliens think it's just a mining operation. Communications Array Delta 3 is online. added communications specialist Lee Jae-won. We now have secure channels connecting 15 hidden bases across 7-star systems. Dr. Park smiled. The aliens were so focused on watching human ships and colonies that they never paid attention to the empty space between them. They saw humans mining asteroids for resources, but they did not see humans turning those asteroids into hidden military bases. What about our new friends? Park asked. Engineer Kim Tae-young pulled up a holographic display showing several alien species. The Kalari are very interested in our offer. They've been under Vorthak rule for 200 years and hate it. The Morvian colonies also want to join us. They say the Council has been stealing their resources for decades. This was the part of the plan that the aliens never expected. Humans were not just hiding their own activities. They were making friends with the species that the Council had conquered or bullied over the centuries. Many of these species had been waiting for someone strong enough to stand up to the Council's power. The irony was perfect. The Council said humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable and emotional, but those same qualities made other species trust them. Humans were the first species to offer friendship without demanding submission. Sergeant Pilot Nam Ho-seok flew his fighter through the asteroid field near Tau Ceti. To any watching alien sensors, he was just a human pilot doing a routine patrol. His ship looked old and slow, and he flew in a pattern that seemed random and inefficient. But Nam was actually testing the new quantum stealth system that engineer Choi Min-ho had designed. The technology made human ships invisible to all known forms of alien detection. More importantly, it worked perfectly. "Control, this is Ghost 7, he said into his communication system. "Package delivered to coordinates Lima 47. No alien response. "They cannot see us at all. "Copy, Ghost 7. Came the reply from Hidden Base Alpha Prime. "Return to base. We have new targets for tomorrow." The package Nam had delivered was actually a small monitoring station that would watch alien ship movements through this sector. In 3 months, humans had secretly placed over 500 such stations throughout the galaxy. They now knew more about alien military positions than the aliens knew about human activities. Back on Earth, General Kang Hyun-woo sat in a meeting room deep underground. The walls were covered with star charts showing the positions of human ships, alien fleets, and the growing network of secret human bases. Red dots marked alien military installations. Blue dots showed human positions. Green dots showed the locations of species that had secretly agreed to help humanity when the time came. There were a lot of green dots. "Ma'am," said Intelligence Officer Captain Young Woo-jin, "we've confirmed that the Nexari Collective has been violating their own trade restrictions for over 50 years. They've been secretly buying human technology through shell companies." "And the Vorthak?" General Kang asked. "Even better. Their Chancellor Ixthun has been using Council military resources to fight his own private wars against political rivals. We have recordings of him ordering attacks on civilian targets." General Kang nodded. The aliens thought humans were too emotional and chaotic to plan properly. They were about to discover that humans could be very patient when they needed to be. Every day of apparent compliance had been used to gather intelligence, build secret bases, and make new allies. "How many ships do we actually have?" she asked. "Official count given to the Council is 412 vessels," Captain Young replied. "Actual count including hidden production and captured alien ships is over 2,000. The numbers were staggering. While alien observers watched human shipyards build slow cargo vessels and small patrol craft, the real human fleet was being constructed inside hollowed-out asteroids and on hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Many of the ships used alien technology that had been borrowed during various accidents and equipment failures. And our allies. The Kalari can provide 600 ships when we give the signal. The Morvians have smaller fleets but excellent intelligence networks. The Zephyrian refugee fleets have been hiding in the Outer Rim for decades, waiting for a chance to strike back at the Council. General Kang stood up and walked to the large display screen. It showed the current positions of all major fleets in the galaxy. The alien forces looked impressive. Thousands of ships spread across dozens of systems. But they were positioned to fight old-style wars between established governments. They were not prepared for what humanity was planning. "Timeline?" she asked. "We can be ready in 6 weeks," Captain Young replied. "All bases will be fully operational. All our allies will be in position. All intelligence gathering will be complete. And if the aliens discover what we're really doing?" Young smiled. "Ma'am, they're aliens. They think they understand us because they've read our history books and watched our movies. But they've never dealt with humans who really want to accomplish something. They're still trying to figure out what Ambassador Kim meant when he said, "Hold my beer." General Kang laughed. The aliens had made a critical error. They thought that controlling human expansion would make humans give up. Instead, it had given humanity a common enemy and a clear goal. For the first time in centuries, every human colony, every human ship, and every human settlement was working together toward the same objective. The aliens wanted to see what unpredictable looked like. They were going to get their wish very soon. As reports continued to come in from secret bases across the galaxy, one thing became very clear. Humanity was ready. They had ships the aliens did not know about, bases in places the aliens had never looked, allies the aliens had forgotten about, and plans the aliens could never have imagined. The beer was sitting on the table, waiting. Soon it would be time to show the galaxy what happened next. The medical ship Florence Nightingale moved slowly through space toward the planet Kepler 442b. Dr. Song Yuri stood in the main medical bay, checking supplies one more time. The ship carried medicine, food, and medical equipment for the plague victims on the planet below. "Doctor, we'll reach orbit in 30 minutes, announced Captain An Kyung-soo over the ship's communication system. "Thank you, Captain," Dr. Song replied. She looked around at her medical team. Nurse Han Bo-ram was preparing vaccines. Medical technician Lee Min-soo was setting up portable surgery equipment. Everyone worked quietly and efficiently. The Florence Nightingale was not a military ship. It had no weapons, no shields, and no armor. Its only protection was the Red Cross symbol painted on its hull and the universal medical identification codes that broadcast on all frequencies. Every civilization in the galaxy, including the council members, respected medical ships, at least they were supposed to. "Doctor," called Nurse Han from her workstation, "I'm worried about the Vorthak patrol ships we've been seeing. They've been following us for 2 days." Dr. Song frowned. "Medical ships have free passage under galactic law. They have no reason to interfere with us." "Maybe they're just being careful," suggested Medical Officer Kim Tae-jin. "The restrictions on humans have made everyone nervous." On the bridge, Captain An watched the scanner displays with growing concern. 3 Vorthak military ships were maintaining position just outside weapons range. Their behavior was strange. Normally, military vessels either ignored medical ships or offered escort protection. These ships were acting like predators watching prey. "Medical vessel Florence Nightingale," came a harsh voice over the communication system. "This is Vorthak Military Commander Gorthek. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." Captain An activated his response channel. "Commander Gorthek, we are on an official medical mission to provide aid to plague victims. Under galactic medical protection laws, we cannot be delayed or inspected without emergency justification. The justification is human security violations. Your species has been placed under restrictions. All human vessels must submit to inspection. Sir, medical ships are exempt from those restrictions under Treaty Article 15. We have done nothing wrong." There was a long pause. Then Commander Gorthek's voice came back, colder than before. "Human vessel, you will prepare for boarding immediately or you will be fired upon." Captain An felt his blood turn cold. The Vorthak commander was violating every law that governed medical operations in space. "Commander, we have over 800 civilian refugees on board plus medical staff. Firing on a medical ship is a war crime under galactic law. Your laws no longer apply to humans. Prepare for boarding or be destroyed." Down in the medical bay, Dr. Song heard the announcement over the ship's communication system. The words hit her like a physical blow. She had dedicated her life to healing people, regardless of their species or politics. The idea that someone would attack a medical mission was almost impossible to believe. "All medical staff to emergency stations," she announced. "Prepare for possible combat evacuation of patients." The medical team moved quickly but calmly. They had trained for emergencies but never imagined they would need to protect their patients from military attack. Nurse Han began moving the sickest refugees to the ship's most protected areas. The medical officers started loading essential supplies into emergency pods. On the bridge, Captain An made a desperate attempt to avoid disaster. "Commander Gorthek, I'm transmitting our official medical certification and passenger manifest. You can see that we're carrying only medical supplies and plague victims. There's no security threat here. Your species is the security threat, human. You will submit to boarding in 60 seconds or we will open fire. Captain An looked at his crew. They were medical personnel, not soldiers. They had no weapons and no military training. The Florence Nightingale could not outrun or outfight 3 Vorthak military vessels. Sir, said Navigation Officer Park Dong-hyun quietly, I'm getting an emergency message from the hidden human base at coordinate 77 Alpha. They're asking if we need assistance. Captain An thought fast. The hidden base could probably send help, but not quickly enough. And revealing the base's location would compromise months of secret preparation. The lives of 800 refugees were not worth exposing humanity's entire hidden network. Tell them negative, he said. We cannot compromise the mission for one ship. The 60 seconds passed like hours. Captain An watched the countdown on his chronometer, while his crew prepared for the worst. At exactly 60 seconds, the Vorthak ships opened fire. The first blast destroyed the Florence Nightingale's engines. The ship shuddered and began drifting helplessly. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the corridors. Hull breach on decks 4 and 5, reported engineer Choi Soo-jin. We're losing atmosphere in the refugee compartments. Dr. Song and her team rushed to the damaged sections, trying to save as many people as possible. But the Vorthak ships continued firing. Each blast tore through the unarmored medical vessel like paper. There was no escape and no defense. In the final moments, Dr. Song managed to send one last message on the emergency medical frequency. This is Dr. Song Yu-ri of the medical ship Florence Nightingale. We are under attack by Vorthak military forces while conducting an authorized medical mission. 847 souls on board. We did nothing wrong. Remember us. Then the ship's power failed, and the transmission ended. 3 hours later, Captain Young Woo-jin of the human vessel Defiance arrived at the coordinates where the Florence Nightingale had been destroyed. All he found was floating debris and frozen bodies drifting in space. Among the wreckage, he found Dr. Song's medical bag, still intact. Inside was a photo of her family on Earth and a small bottle opener, the kind that had become a symbol of human resistance after Ambassador Kim's speech to the Air Council. Captain Jung activated the emergency communication system that connected all human ships across the galaxy. His message was simple and direct. This is Captain Jung Woo-jin of the vessel Defiance. The medical ship Florence Nightingale has been destroyed by Vorthak military forces. 847 civilians and medical personnel are dead, including Dr. Song Yu-ri and her entire medical team. He paused, looking out at the debris field where good people had died for no reason except alien fear and hatred. The Vorthak claim this was a misunderstanding. They offer compensation of 50,000 credits for the destroyed ship and apologize for the accident. They expect us to accept this and move on quietly, as we have done for the past 3 months. Captain Jung reached into his jacket and pulled out the bottle opener he had found in Dr. Song's medical bag. He held it up to the camera so that every human ship in the galaxy could see it. The Vorthak just made their biggest mistake. They think we're predictable. They think we're controlled. They think we'll accept the murder of medical personnel and refugees. His voice grew harder with each word. Message to all human vessels, Operation Hold My Beer is now active. The compliance period is over. Time to show them what unpredictable really means. Across human space, from the smallest research station to the largest colony ship, people received Captain Young's message. In hidden bases throughout the galaxy, human military personnel began powering up weapon systems that had been offline for months. Secret shipyards started launching vessels that alien observers had never seen. The response was immediate and coordinated. Every cargo ship that had been moving slowly through space under alien observation suddenly dropped their disguises. Hidden weapon systems activated. Fake hull plating fell away to reveal military armor and shield generators. What the aliens had thought were 300 slow, harmless human vessels were actually over 2,000 advanced warships, scattered across 17 star systems and ready for combat. In the Galactic Council chambers, Chancellor Ixthan received the first reports with confusion, then growing alarm. Sir, reported Intelligence Officer Vexmore, we're detecting massive energy signatures from human vessels across the galaxy. They appear to be powering up weapon systems we didn't know they had. Impossible, the Chancellor said. Our observers have been monitoring human military capacity for months. They have no hidden weapons. Sir, we're also receiving messages from 17 different human fleets. They're demanding an immediate council session to address what they call the Florence Nightingale massacre. They say they have evidence that Commander Gorthek violated galactic medical protection laws. Chancellor Ixthan felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. What kind of evidence? Complete recordings of Commander Gorthek's communications, sir. Video documentation of the attack. Testimony from surviving witnesses who were rescued by other human ships. The Chancellor realized with growing horror that the humans had been prepared for this moment. They had ships in position to document the attack and rescue survivors. They had communication systems that allowed instant coordination across the galaxy. They had been planning for something like this to happen. Sir, Vexmore continued, we're also getting reports of human allies. The Kalari fleet has left their home system and is moving toward Council space. The Morvian colonies have declared independence from Council authority. Admiral Shindaun stood on the bridge of the human flagship Unstoppable, watching as tactical displays showed the positions of human fleets across 17 star systems. Each green dot represented a strike group that had been hiding in plain sight for 3 months, waiting for this moment. Admiral, reported Communications Officer Lee Jae-won, all strike groups report ready. Our alien allies are in position. Hidden bases have powered up their defense systems. We're ready to begin Operation Hold My Beer. Admiral Shin nodded. The operation had 17 different targets, all to be hit at exactly the same moment. The goal was not to destroy the alien fleets or conquer their worlds. The goal was to send a message that could not be ignored or misunderstood. Send the signal, she said quietly. Across the galaxy, human commanders received the same simple message. Beer time. In the Proxima Centauri system, Captain Lee Dongwoo's ship, Indomitable, led a strike group toward the major Vorthak military base on Proxima 4. The base housed over 50,000 alien military personnel and controlled shipping routes for 3 sectors, sir, reported Tactical Officer Park So-young. The Vorthak sensors show they still think we're a cargo convoy. Their base defenses are in normal peacetime status. Captain Lee smiled grimly. Let's change that. All ships drop stealth mode. Show them what we really are. Around the Indomitable, 20 ships that had appeared to be slow cargo haulers suddenly revealed their true nature. False hull plating fell away to show advanced armor and weapon systems. Engine output increased dramatically as military-grade drives came online. Scanner blocking systems shut down, revealing that each cargo ship was actually a heavy cruiser armed for serious combat. On Proxima 4, the Vorthak base commander watched his displays with growing shock as a massive human battle fleet appeared where his sensors had been tracking harmless merchant vessels. Base Defense Control, this is Captain Lee Dongwoo of the Human Defense Force, came the transmission from the lead human ship. Your base is now surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to receive our message. Human vessel, you are in violation of Council restrictions. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Check your tactical display, Captain Lee replied calmly. Then tell me which one of us is about to face destruction. The Vorthak commander looked at his screens and felt his blood turn cold. 20 human warships surrounded his base, their weapons locked on every critical system. But the ships were not firing. They were waiting. Meanwhile, in the Tau Ceti system, Commander Park So-young led a different kind of mission. Her team's target was not a military base, but a communications hub that controlled information flow for 6 alien worlds. Remember, she told her team as they prepared to board the alien station, we're not here to hurt anyone. We're here to deliver a message and gather evidence. The human boarding team moved quickly through the station's corridors. The alien staff offered no resistance. They were communication technicians, not soldiers. Within 15 minutes, the humans had control of the station's main computer systems. Upload Package 7, Commander Park ordered. Specialist Lee Jae-won activated his equipment. Suddenly, every communication channel in 6-star systems began broadcasting the same message. Footage of the Florence Nightingale's destruction, followed by recordings of Commander Gorthek's illegal orders to fire on the medical ship. But that was not all. The humans had also uploaded evidence of dozens of other Council crimes. Secret attacks on civilian targets, illegal weapons testing, the use of slave labor on mining worlds, and corruption involving billions of credits in stolen resources. Message delivered, Lee reported. Every civilian in the system now knows what their Council representatives have really been doing. On the planet Kepler 186F, the human team led by engineering specialist Choi Min-ho had an even more specific mission. They had infiltrated an Nexari research facility that was supposedly working on peaceful energy research. What they actually found was something much more interesting. "Admiral," Choi reported over the secure channel, "you need to see this. The Nexari have been developing planet-killing weapons in direct violation of galactic law. We have complete documentation, including test results from attacks on 3 uninhabited worlds." Admiral Shin's voice came back over the communication system. "Are the weapons still functional?" "Yes, ma'am." "And Admiral, there are targeting coordinates for Earth and 12 human colonies already programmed into the firing systems." The implications were staggering. While the Council had been lecturing humanity about being dangerous and unpredictable, they had been secretly building weapons designed to destroy entire human worlds. "Download everything," Admiral Shin ordered. "Then disable the weapons permanently. Make sure the galaxy knows what we found." In system after system, human strike teams revealed the same pattern. Council species had been violating every law and treaty they claimed to uphold. They had been preparing for war against humanity while demanding that humans disarm and accept restrictions. The most shocking discovery came from the hidden base that humans found in the asteroid field near Wolf 359. Captain Young Woo Jin led the team that broke into what they thought was a simple military outpost. Instead, they found evidence of a secret council program called Final Solution Protocol. The documents were clear. If humanity ever became too troublesome, the plan was to use biological weapons to eliminate the entire human species. "They weren't planning to restrict us," Captain Young reported to Admiral Shin. "They were planning to exterminate us. The restrictions were just a way to keep us calm while they prepared for genocide." But while human teams gathered evidence of council crimes, other groups focused on a different kind of message. Throughout the galaxy, human ships began demonstrating technologies that the aliens had never seen before. Ships that could become invisible to any known form of detection. Weapons that could disable enemy vessels without harming the crew inside. Defensive systems that made human ships nearly impossible to destroy. Most impressive of all were the quantum communication systems that allowed instant coordination across galactic distances. While alien fleets struggled with communication delays that lasted hours or days, human forces could coordinate their actions in real time. How is this possible? Chancellor Ixthan demanded as reports poured in from across the galaxy. "Our observers have been watching human research facilities for months. They reported no advanced technology development." "Sir," replied Intelligence Chief Vexmore, "it appears the humans built a completely separate research and manufacturing network that we never detected. They've been developing these technologies in asteroid bases and hidden facilities that we thought were simple mining operations." On the main display screen, the tactical situation was becoming clear. Human forces had not just revealed hidden ships. They had revealed hidden bases, hidden allies, and hidden capabilities that changed the entire balance of power in the galaxy. The Kalari fleet had joined the human forces and was advancing on Vorthak territory. The Morvian colonies had declared independence and were providing intelligence about Council military positions. Even more surprising, several species that had been considered loyal Council members were now openly supporting the humans. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Threxval, "we're receiving surrender requests from our military commanders in the Rigel, Altair, and Vega systems. They say they're outnumbered and outgunned. They want permission to negotiate." Chancellor Ixthan stared at the strategic display. In less than 6 hours, the humans had gone from being a restricted, monitored species to controlling or threatening key positions throughout Council space. But the most disturbing part was that human forces were being very careful not to cause unnecessary casualties. They disabled alien ships rather than destroying them. They captured facilities rather than bombing them. They arrested criminals rather than executing them. It was as if they wanted to prove that they were more civilized than the species that had called them dangerous. "Sir," Vexmore said quietly, "I'm getting reports that human forces are broadcasting something on all frequencies. It appears to be some kind of cultural content." "What kind of cultural content?" "Music, sir. They're playing human music on every communication channel in the galaxy, and they're leaving small objects at each facility they capture." "What objects?" "Empty bottles, sir. The kind humans use to contain their alcoholic beverages. Each bottle has a message attached that says, 'Told you so.'" Chancellor Ixthan felt a terrible understanding begin to dawn. The humans were not just demonstrating military superiority, they were making a point about everything the Council had said about human unpredictability and chaos. The humans had been completely predictable. They had warned the Council exactly what would happen if they were pushed too far. Ambassador Kim had even told them directly, "Hold my beer." The Council had chosen not to listen. Now they were learning what came after the beer was set down. "Get me a communication channel to the human flagship," Chancellor Ixthan said finally. "I think it's time we talked." 6 months after Operation Hold My Beer, the galaxy looked very different. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was still impressive, but the atmosphere had changed completely. Where once alien delegates had sat in comfortable certainty of their power, now they shifted nervously in their seats as they waited for the new treaty negotiations to begin. Chancellor Ixthan sat across a polished metal table from Captain Li Dongwu of the human vessel Indomitable. The Vorthak leader looked older than he had 6 months ago. The stress of seeing his empire's military power dissolved in a single day had aged him considerably. "Captain," Li reached into his jacket and pulled out a small bottle opener, the same kind that Ambassador Kim had left behind after his famous speech. He set it on the table between them and began casually cleaning his fingernails with the pointed end. "You wanted to restrict us because you said we were unpredictable and dangerous," Captain Li said without looking up from his hands. "You were right about one thing. We are dangerous." Chancellor Ixthan remained silent. The evidence of human capabilities was overwhelming. In 6 months, humanity had demonstrated technology that surpassed anything the Council possessed. They had revealed allies among species the Council thought they controlled. Most importantly, they had shown that they could coordinate military operations across the entire galaxy with precision that no other species could match. "But here's what you missed," Captain Li continued, finally looking up to meet the Chancellor's yellow eyes. "We're unpredictably reasonable when you treat us with respect." Around the Great Hall, delegates from dozens of species waited to see what the new galactic order would look like. Many of them had spent months studying human behavior, trying to understand how they had been so completely wrong about human capabilities. The answer was both simple and complex. Humans were indeed unpredictable, but not in the way the aliens had expected. They were unpredictably cooperative when offered genuine partnership. They were unpredictably generous when dealing with species that had been oppressed. And they were unpredictably merciful even toward enemies who had planned their extinction. President Lim Se-Buell, Earth's new leader, stood to address the assembly. She had been a military strategist before being elected, and her understanding of both warfare and diplomacy had been crucial in the months following Operation Hold My Beer. 6 months ago, "This council imposed restrictions on humanity," she began. "You said we were too dangerous to be allowed free expansion through the galaxy. You said our emotions made us unpredictable. You said our tendency toward violence made us a threat to galactic peace." She paused, letting her words settle in the silent hall. "You are not entirely wrong. We are dangerous. We are unpredictable. And we can be violent when necessary. But you made one critical error in your assessment of our species." President Lim activated a holographic display showing star charts from before and after Operation Hold My Beer. The before image showed human territory as a small cluster of worlds near Earth. The after image showed human influence extending across much of the known galaxy. You assumed that these qualities made us enemies of peace and order. Instead, you should have asked why we developed these qualities in the first place. The display changed to show footage from the human rescue operations that had followed Operation Hold My Beer. Human medical ships providing aid to alien civilians caught in the conflict. Human engineers rebuilding damaged infrastructure on worlds that had been battlegrounds. Human diplomats working with former enemy species to establish new trade agreements. We are dangerous to those who threaten the innocent. We are unpredictable when facing injustice. We are violent when defending those who cannot defend themselves. These are not flaws in our character. They are the foundation of our strength. Ambassador Quan Minji, who had taken over Kim Taeho's position after his return to Earth, stepped forward with a datapad containing the new treaty terms. "The old restrictions on humanity are hereby declared null and void," she announced. "In their place, We propose a new galactic charter based on mutual respect, shared defense, and equal opportunity for all species. She began reading the key points. First, no species may impose expansion limits on another species without clear evidence of aggressive intent. Expansion for peaceful purposes, including colonization and trade, is a fundamental right. Murmurs of agreement came from several alien delegations, particularly those representing species that had also faced council restrictions in the past. Second, all species have the right to develop defensive technologies necessary for their protection. No species may demand that another species disarm unless they are willing to disarm equally. This point caused more controversy. Several council species had built their power on technological superiority over their neighbors. Third, medical missions and humanitarian aid are sacred. Any attack on medical personnel or civilian refugees will be considered an act of war against all charter signatories. Chancellor Ixthan shifted uncomfortably. The destruction of the Florence Nightingale had been the catalyst for everything that followed. He knew that the human response had been proportional and justified under galactic law. Fourth, all species have the right to defend oppressed peoples and support independence movements against tyrannical governments. This was the point that changed everything. Under the old council system, powerful species could conquer and oppress weaker ones without interference. The new charter made such oppression everyone's business. Fifth, all signatories agreed to share defensive technologies and coordinate responses to threats that endanger multiple species or the galaxy as a whole. The implications were staggering. Instead of competing against each other for resources and territory, species would be encouraged to work together for mutual benefit. And finally, Ambassador Kwan concluded, all signatories agree to support the establishment of the Galactic Defense Alliance, with rotating leadership and shared military commands, to ensure that no single species can dominate others through force. The hall erupted in discussion. Some species welcomed the changes, particularly those that had been oppressed under the old council system. Others worried about losing the advantages they had enjoyed. Chancellor Ixthan raised one clawed hand for attention, and if some species refused to sign this new charter, Captain Li Dongwu smiled and picked up the bottle opener from the table. Then they'll find out what happens when you try to maintain the old system of bullying and oppression in a galaxy where humans have friends. The threat was politely stated but unmistakable. The old council had depended on fear and superior technology to maintain control. Now that humans had demonstrated superior technology and had gained numerous allies, any species that tried to return to the old ways would face overwhelming opposition. We're not trying to conquer anyone, President Lim added. We're trying to create a system where conquest becomes unnecessary, where species cooperate because it benefits everyone, not because they're forced to submit to stronger neighbors. Over the following days, the treaty negotiations continued. The final document was much longer and more detailed than Ambassador Kwan's initial summary, but the basic principles remained the same: respect, cooperation, and mutual defense. Most surprisingly, the new system worked better than anyone had expected. Species that had been enemies for centuries began trading with each other. Technological advances were shared instead of hoarded. Military conflicts decreased dramatically, as the threat of unified retaliation made aggression too costly to consider. The Kalari, who had been under Vorthak oppression for 200 years, became one of humanity's closest allies. The Morvian colonies evolved into a major trading partner. Even some Vorthak worlds chose to join the new alliance, preferring cooperation to continued isolation. 3 years after Operation Hold My Beer, Captain Oh Seung-hwan stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, Never Again. The ship was patrolling the border regions of the galaxy, helping to establish new colonies and trade routes. Captain, reported Communications Officer Kim Min-ji, we're receiving a distress call from the mining colony on Kepler 1649c. They're reporting attacks by unknown raiders. Set course for Kepler 1649c, Captain O ordered, and send a message to Alliance Command. Request support from the nearest Kalari and Morvian vessels. Within hours, a combined fleet of human, Kalari, and Morvian ships had surrounded the raider base hidden in a nearby asteroid field. The raiders, who belonged to a species that had refused to join the Alliance, found themselves outnumbered 10 to 1. Raider vessels, Captain O broadcast, You are ordered to release your prisoners and surrender for processing. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. The raiders chose to resist. The battle lasted less than 20 minutes. When it was over, the mining colony was safe, and the raiders had learned the same lesson that Chancellor Ixthan had learned years earlier. The galaxy had changed, and the old ways of doing business were no longer acceptable. Back on Earth, in a small bar near the old United Nations building, retired Ambassador Kim Tae-ho sat with a group of friends, sharing stories and enjoying a quiet evening. On the wall behind the bar was a display case containing the bottle opener he had left on the council podium years earlier. "Do you ever regret it?" asked one of his friends.